And my original work was done with Hmong refugees in Green Bay, and I developed MALP, the mutually adaptive learning paradigm, which is my other hat. But people aren't all that interested in hearing about that this year. Everyone's interested in me for my online learning tool, which is what I'm now, everyone's going, how do you teach online and all that? Okay, so they never cared before. All of a sudden, everyone wants to know. I've been teaching online since 2008, so and I've been learning about doing it since 2003. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go on. All of my work, everything I talk about always starts with the mantra: create fertile spaces, equity, enrichment, engagement, and empowerment. And when I look at those 4 words, I'd like to take you through what they really mean. They're kind of buzzwords, but first let's think about create fertile spaces. All right. Now think about, for example, how that contrasts with delivering instruction, meeting standards, covering curriculum. I think our focus should be creating. Think about Bloom. The top of Bloom's taxonomy is to create. We want students to create, okay? So think about creating fertile spaces, and many of you do that already in person. So what I'm trying to do here is to help you to do it online. So that's kind of my goal here in this presentation. So let's look at this. This is kind of our anchor slide. Providing equity gives you access to instruction, curriculum, and assessment. But it's really just a starting point. People think, oh, equity, that's all we need, equity. No, it's the first step. The next step is you have to add enrichment, which fosters integrative and intrinsic motivation, because there's a lot out there that you're competing with. Students have many choices today, and we want them to choose us and our classes. So if we make them boring, they're not gonna come and they're not gonna work. We need to enrich. I'm going to show you how I do each of these. And of course, engagement is next. Once they're motivated, okay, they're ready. What do you do with it? You got to do something with it. So you've got to get them engaged. And once they're engaged, which again, I'm going to show you all of these in detail. Okay, then you get them participating. Okay, they're participating. This is great. Are we there yet? We've got them participating. Are we done? No. There's another E, which is empowerment, and you're all language teachers, so I know I can tell you it's not a transitive verb. You don't empower someone, just like you don't motivate someone. People find their own motivation, well, they also find their own empowerment. So they will be self-empowered, okay, by the other 3 E's. It will evolve. And once they're empowered, they finally feel ownership. And you know for yourselves, you don't really feel like you've learned something until you own it. It becomes yours. So I'm going to take the entire presentation is each of the 4 E's. Are y'all ready? Here we go. Okay, we're going to start with equity. So for each of the E's, and this is a very brief awareness level presentation, very, very quick. So these are the bullet points. Each of the E's, I'll give you a bullet point slide, and then I'll go through the 5 bullets and a cardinal rule for each. Providing equity. First is what schema theory got to do with it. All right, very important. Your students are learning language and maybe also content. And now they've got to learn a new way to learn, a whole new way to learn online. So that's 3 different schemata, all unfamiliar. So you've got to realize that. And for you, you already know the language and content. You just have to learn how to do it online. And you're all going, this is a big deal. Think about your students. They have all 3 they're trying to do at once. So what's the message there? Well, maybe you need to attend to the learning online a little bit more than the learning language and content at first. Make sure that whatever you do online, they feel comfortable doing it with language and content they can handle before you add to that the other 2 schemata. So that's schema theory. Next, journey, providing equity in terms of the journey. And I referred to this at the very beginning when I told you that I've been teaching online since 2008. Do you know it took me 5 years of studying online learning before I had the nerve to teach a class online? And look at you, you got to do it right away. I mean, cut yourself some slack. It's a journey, and your students have an even more difficult journey because they're learning to learn online in a new country, in a new language. So we all are taking a journey. Take a deep breath, okay? So whatever you can accomplish, it's something you've accomplished. And if you feel pressure from your administrator, email me. I'll get on them right away. Sentimental is just because I like to put things in for myself, and it reminds me about journey when I think about sentimental journey, because I'm that old. Okay, next is helping hand. So here's an activity we're going to do. So in the chat, tell me something you know how to do online and you could help someone else. Or you know how to do it so you could help someone. Put in the chat. What can you do online you could help someone else with? Put it in there. Everybody in the room, because it's a small group, we're kind of intimate here. I wish we could interact more, but in 30 minutes I can't. Put in the chat. I don't see anybody putting anything in the chat. Okay, what do you know how to do? It doesn't matter how basic it is, all right? Something you know how to do, but please go, because we don't have a lot of time. Okay, so you're putting in what you know how to do. The next piece, and then what I do it with students, they put it, we make like a T-chart on the left with their name, what they can do. On the other side, can you guess what I'm going to ask you to do next? What you have to do now is put something in the chat. Some of you are shy. Come on, let's go. It's just a small conference session. Okay, so now I want you to put in the chat something that you don't know how to do and you want help with. Ask for help. And if any of you know each other, you see each other's names, that's cool. Then you can see the person's name and you see what they can help you with and what they need help with. Okay, so what can you help with? All right, and what do you need help with? That's the helping hand. Next, redundancy. To make equity online, you have to be redundant. Everybody thinks differently. Some people look for something in one place, others look for it in another. So you always have to put things in different places. Like if you have a place where you teach from, a platform, you might think they're going to look here for something, but somebody might not look there. So you always have to put it in different places, put your head in a different place. And every time a student looks somewhere else, you say, oh, then I'll put it there next time too. So redundancy, multiple pathways. Also, multiple inputs. If you're giving an assignment, have a document, also have an audio, also have a video. It's a lot of work in the beginning to build redundancy, but once you create it, if you teach the same course again, you've got it created. There's a lot of upfront and front load for online. Take a temperature periodically. See where your students are at all times. Don't lose anybody. If you lose track of anybody, follow up right away. Don't wait. If somebody, didn't come or was late or or left early or something, anything that's a little off, catch it fast. Because once people fall behind, you'll see what happens. This is my cardinal rule, and this is Harrison Ford. Okay, now what it is you can't catch up. So I tell my students, if you get behind at all, the key is don't do the work from the old stuff because you'll play catch up all semester. What you have to do is do the new assignment. Do what's new. Do the new reading, do the new video, do whatever it is, and come to class prepared. Then backfill later. Okay, now one more time for the folks in the back, not too many in the back, small group. Tell me, what do you get when you get equity? What does it provide you? What does equity provide you with? Tell me, what does equity provide you with? Let's go, put it in the chat, put it in the chat. Hey, D Sites, I don't know who you, oh, Megan, there's my Megan. Okay, all right, it gets you access, not participation. Okay, access, there you go. It gets you access. Let's go on, enrichment, all right. 4 bullets and a cardinal rule. The slides are available. You don't have to, the slides are available. I think most people are here now, so I'm going to put in the slide deck. All right, this is your slide deck right here. And oh, I did. Wait a minute. You know what I did? I did the typical mistake of, okay, but I'm going to put it in here. All right, there's your slide deck. Okay, now let's go. First one is be our guest. Have other people come to class, the virtual class, if you're meeting, all right? Have guests. I had a guest last week come to my class. They loved it. They love having a guest. And you can have anybody. You can have students, family members come in. You can have, colleagues of yours. It jazzes it up. Remember, we're competing with all the things they want to do besides you. Have a guest. Rip from the headlines today. But anyway, find something that's happening in the world that relates to what you're doing in class, because that's enriching, that connects. And we're so lucky because we're language teachers. So in a way, you have a lot more to choose from than other teachers do. Rip it from the headlines. Okay. Virtual field trips. Many of you know this, right? You do know that you can do virtual field trips, and some of them are even synchronous. So I gave you this particular site, the Discovery Education, happened to be the one I picked, but again, you can always find your own ideas of what to do for your virtual trips. Wonderful things. The Settlement Museum in New York City is one of my favorites, but anyway, all right, enrichment. Games, that's an obvious one. I like Jeopardy. But you can do any kind of games. The kids, the young people, you know, they got a million games. So you can even have them run their own games. All right. Enrichment. It's all in the family. This is where you get to turn on your webcams. Let everybody come. Don't say, shh, shh, the dog's barking. Oh, the baby needs me. Bring the baby. Bring the dog. Everybody turn on your webcam for 1 second. And let's all do gallery view. And let's see everybody. Come on, come on. Turn on your webcams and let's see everybody. Hello, hello. Hi, does anyone have a child or a pet or a friend or anything? Did anybody have anything fun they want to show us? Do you see what just happened? What just happened is here you are. We're all here. We're people. It's okay. You all seem to be alone. That's okay. You're all alone. That's all right. But usually my students, they have things around them like pets and children. Anyway, it's fun just to do it, okay? You get it? It's all in the family. Okay, now I'm going to kind of go back to what I was doing. All right, so that's enrichment, and we also have the cardinal rule, which is, and I make potatoes, different kinds of potatoes, make no assumptions. What do I mean? What the enrichment that you design for some students will not be enrichment for others. Maybe some students don't like games, or they don't like the virtual field trip. You have to always have variety, because you want to make everybody engaged, which we'll get to in a second, but it has to be compelling for everyone. And again, everyone's different. So you can't please all the people all the time, but you should be pleasing everybody sometimes. And I do the potatoes, again, little inside thing for me to remind me what this slide is, because you say potato, I say potato. Yeah, okay, that's my vintage. Here we go. All right, one more time, folks in the back. What does it get you? Enrichment gets you, who remembers? Enrichment gets you what? Who remembers? Good job, motivation. Okay, now we've got access and motivation from the first two E's. Ready for E3? The third E. The third E is engagement. Now, everybody talks about, engagement. In fact, when I do questionnaires, which I do a lot for my webinars and workshops and stuff, I say, what's your biggest issue with online learning? What's your biggest issue? And most people say something like engagement, something related to that. So there are three things, all right, to remember. And this is the recipe for engagement. And if you know these three, you will have engaged learners. So you're ready? I know you want to hear this, right? You ready? Here we go. Now, if you've ever looked for a house, you know location, location, location. So really, it's all about interaction, all right? Engagement is about interaction. If they're not interacting, they're not engaged, okay? Even right now with you guys, I am attempting to do with you the 4 E's. Have you noticed that? Get your metacognitive hat on. Okay, now, engagement. Asynchronous. This is a short version. In the longer workshops, I go through everything. I'm just going to show you these. Boom, there it is. Maybe the one you don't know about is interactive textbooks. Go to perusal.com. I'll give you the perusal.com. It's perusal. I just put the word there, but you all know the other part of an address. Okay, you can share readings, and students can comment and ask questions on the side. I talked about it this morning, so I'm not going to be including that in this one. But like I said, you'll have everything that you can refer back to. Okay, and then we have synchronous options. Synchronous options, boom, there they are. And the one I really like to talk about is the video lesson. You do flipped learning, which is not about flipped learning. Again, I talked about that in the morning one. Flipped lessons, you design your lessons with interactive elements. You don't just say, go watch the video. and they respond. Okay, so those are the engagement pieces. So cardinal rule for engagement, here's your rule, always a rule, right? Or caveat, get out of the way. So whatever they can do without you as an intermediary, they should be doing it. They should be doing it. So think about less is more. Less. The less you do, the more engaged they'll be, the more enriching it'll be for them, and they can give each other a handle on equity, and you can fill in where nobody else can. You ready for the slide, the quiz slide? Here we go. What does engagement get you? What do we get? Keep trying. You might win the prize. What does it get you? How are you? I've got one A student down here in the chat who gets them all. Okay, here we go. Participation. That's what engagement gets you. Okay, now they're participating. Are we done? Remember I said no? Okay, next is empowerment. So empowerment is an interesting one I like to talk about because there's not one answer. It's the opposite of engagement. Engagement, interaction. Empowerment, we have differences. Why? Because what gives me a feeling of power is not what gives you a feeling of power. I was just talking with my husband last night about my crazy attempt to present at 10 conferences and give everybody my ideas. And that makes me feel powerful because I can make a contribution to online learning because I've been doing it and everybody's starving now for it. Okay, that's what makes me feel. But for him, it's his worst nightmare. He would never want to do that. He feels empowered by putting people together, introducing two people who don't know each other, who might be able to connect with each other. Not that I don't like to do that too, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to give an example. Okay, are we ready? So this is the first one. You'll have students who want to be the liaison. They want to be somebody who organizes, remember the helping hand activity? Maybe they're the ones that want to organize the helping hand. Maybe they want to help people get together and work on the equity issue, okay? You might have students who are, they want to be an expert. They want to research a certain area, find out about it. Or I've even had in my pronunciation class one year, I taught ESL for a long time. Now I'm in teacher ed. They all had to become experts on something that was specific to their culture and teach us how to do it. Or, I think one student did how to do a sailor's knot. I don't know what culture that was. Anyway, yeah. And then someone did the crane, out of paper, and they had to teach us something. It doesn't have to be anything particular, but they feel empowered. You see, that's what we're getting at here. All right. And language is always in the background, always there. Some of them, they want to take over and be a leader. Fine. Let them be a group leader or let them lead the class in something. Leadership roles don't have to be being in charge. They can be the observer. They can be someone who goes around and observes other people, gives them feedback, or does an informal assessment. Maybe it's one of your stronger students who thinks, why am I in level 3 or something like that? Everybody's got one of those, right? So give them these roles, okay? Coach them, but give them these roles. The other thing is feedback. You have to teach them how to do feedback. So I use this model, Shaq, from the guy in Morocco, a colleague of mine, Khalid Fethi, and it looks very simple. I did this morning. If you're, yes, you're right, I did it, but here it is. Share, help, ask, comment. So students like this a lot because it gives them a way to give each other feedback that isn't overly controlled and specific, but isn't just provide feedback, okay? They know what they can do. They can say, oh, I have a question I'm going to ask my peer, or I'd like to help my peer, or I have something to share with my peer that relates to what they did, or, okay, comment. All right. Very brief today on that. The other is a change agent. Sometimes you have a student that's learning English, but they really want to make a difference in the world in some larger sense, and they want to make a change. Or not in the world even. I had students who they wanted to change the food in the cafeteria, and a couple of them got together, to change agent, right? So these are the 21st century skills, and it starts with creativity in the middle. Remember, create fertile spaces, so create is always at the top. And then with these other skills, which you help them with in your class, right, they can become change agents. Some people really get motivated by that and empowered by that. Others, not so much. Then there's global citizen. There's a lot of talk about being global today and thrown around again, another buzzword, be a global citizen. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I'm sure, we could, if we were chatting more, And by the way, if you have things to share with each other in the chat for any of the E's, go ahead and pump them into the chat. But Learning Revolution is a great place for you to learn about online learning. You go to that website, learningrevolution.com, and they've always got something going on. I presented some things there, and I learned some things by going to other people. It's ongoing. It goes on all the time. It's everything free. You just go. The other thing is for your students, and maybe you already know, IEARN.org, IEARN, IEARN.org. It's an international organization that gets young people together. This is for those of you in secondary, middle, and high school kids. And it gets them into projects. I started an international film club between Morocco, Khaled Fethi, my friend there, and Virginia. And 2 schools got together. And they did a film project. And that's a whole nother presentation on its own, that project. But just to give you an idea that you can connect with kids, your kids can connect with kids across. There are over 200 projects in IEARN, and US is a member of IEARN when I last looked. I think we are. And you can participate in IEARN. I love that organization. So those are 2 ideas for global. Cardinal rule. Yeah, Alvin Ailey. Cardinal rule. That's also, the cardinal rules I kind of have my own thing for. Okay, remain empowered. How do they remain empowered? Oh, they're empowered, fine. No, 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 no. You have to be there always. You know, I'm still in touch with many of my students. I'm so proud of them when some of them become ESL teachers themselves, some of my ESL students. All right, they always need to know you're there to catch them, mentor them, and love them. Okay, so don't forget that about empowerment. It's just like if you're a parent, well, that story is another story. Okay, here we go. Here's your little mini quiz. What does empowerment get you? In the chat, in the chat. Okay, I think someone took a screenshot of that slide. Okay, ownership. It gets you ownership. Remember, that's where we want to go. Okay, so to recap, I know it's 4:27. Yikes. Okay. The fertile spaces, remember equity, enrichment, engagement, empowerment, create fertile spaces. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to give you the link to the course. You can go into Perusal and join me there, and everything is there, not just this slide deck, which I gave you the link to, but you can learn about the SOFLA model. And you can see I have webinars there. I have articles there. I'll pop in and out. It's asynchronous. It's just a free site place inside Perusal where you can read everything that I've written about this all in one place and see bunches of webinars and stuff, you know. And looks like my I hope you still hear me. I hope you still hear me. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Something went with my microphone. Okay, I made it. Any questions? Everyone still hear me?
Yes, we have 2 minutes, everybody. So quickly ask your questions before we run out of time. Thank you for sharing those ideas and the websites and all of that, and also the PowerPoint itself, so we don't have to take notes. Instead, watch you and pay attention instead. So that was very helpful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I enjoy it. And I'm very easy to reach. You can talk to me anytime.
And again, thank you for making yourself available to us like that. Thank you for that. Okay, everybody, we're really close to running out of time. So if you have a very short question for Helene.
Okay,
if we do not have any questions, please remember that we have this general session scheduled in now. So join us, please. Thank you again, Elaine. Have a good evening. And everybody, thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Thank you.